LaDawnya nearly lost everything to alcohol: her marriage, her job, even her sense of self. Now, 6 years sober, she's building something bigger than herself, a nonprofit where sewing helps people stitch their lives back together. She grew up in small town Arkansas, carried abandonment wounds, and turned to drinking as life's losses piled up. The turning point? An honest conversation that gave her the courage to board a flight to rehab the very next day. Now she's the founder of Lost Ozark Dawn Community Heritage, where loose threads of pain are woven into a tapestry of community, healing, and belonging. This is LaDawnya's story, a reminder that the same hands that once fell apart can also create something beautiful. Just tell us how you grew up and where you grew up and what life was like for you as a kid.
So I grew up in Waldron, Scott County. We moved there when I was in the second grade.
And that's Central Arkansas?
That is southwest Arkansas, south of Fort Smith.
I got the Arkansas part right.
Yeah, south of Fort Smith, north of Mena,
Okay.
middle of nowhere. There's nothing there.
Okay.
And my family was from there. My mom and uncle and brother and some cousins all graduated from Waldron, and we all had the same ninth grade English teacher, Miss Lyons.
Nice.
Yeah. There was nothing there. You could go hiking in the woods, which we were kids in the woods, so we got told to go hike a lot. Fishing, or, I'd plant gardens, and I like to garden still.
Yeah.
And I'd sew with my grandma and my mom.
So when you look back on your childhood, how do you reflect on it as a positive or negative? What are some of those thoughts and feelings you have surrounding your childhood?
My childhood was pretty sheltered, and there are things about it, comparatively speaking, with some close friends and loved ones. My childhood was great, comparatively speaking. But we were a poor family, living off of the food that we were growing out of the ground and the cattle and stuff we had in the backyard or acreage.
Simple. It's kind of a simple life.
Simple. There was nothing to do except for get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
You had to go backroading and stuff. But I moved away from Waldron before I hit my high school stride. Like, I moved away in the ninth grade and bounced around.
With your family or no?
I left Waldron and lived with my dad.
Okay.
And some other family members in Little Rock. And that's where I graduated high school. But there was a time where I moved because my folks had split up. And my mom moved to North Carolina, and my dad was in Little Rock, and, the family was splitting apart. So where do you go? I could stay with my dad, or I could go stay with my mom. And then when I finally settled wherever it was that I settled, I wasn't necessarily wanted there. So I would get sent somewhere else. So when I turned 16, I was living with my mom, and I got to go live with my aunt and uncle out in Nevada. So I got a one-way trip on my 16th birthday to Nevada. That was pretty hard. And there's a lot of abandonment issues that I have from my childhood. So, which is weird because they were there up until they weren't. Right? And maybe in the early 90s and the late 80s, it was normal for your kids to be grown at the age of 17. So that's where I was pretty much after leaving the sheltered Waldron, going fishing, planting gardens, sewing, with grandma, and to Little Rock and that kind of, with my parents not being together, it was like they forgot about me,
How old were you when they split apart?
I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't young.
Right, yeah.
I was old enough to know what was going on.
Right.
Yeah. And it was traumatizing. I know there's people who go through so much worse, I've always had a roof over my head. I'm very grateful for that. But you're supposed to love your neighbors, not listen on the party line, those kind of things.
Yeah.
I was raised to respect my elders and love my country and my husband and those
Right.
kind of things, and all true, you
Yeah.
know. But life didn't turn out the way that I was promised. It was supposed to be picket fences and,
Mm.
you can do anything you want in this life. And, yeah, you sure can. You
Yeah.
can. You can. It just takes a lot of work.
So, who was someone that really influenced your life as a child, or even as a teenager, young adult?
Mm, I got asked that question in rehab. Um, and my answer then was, my Aunt June was someone I looked up to,
In Nevada?
in Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was smart and she went back to college when she was like 35.
Mhm.
Again, early 90s. So kind of weird, but it was becoming more normal. And I think reflecting back on that, probably I admired her so much for being able to separate herself from the same kind of family lifestyle that I was experiencing, she experienced also. So she left and created her own life. And she had it, and it's one she still has it today. She still has love for her family, and they're together, and, they've done their jobs as parents and raising their kids and loving their grandkids and retired, and they're enjoying life now. And I've always well, I guess I just thought it was weird when I was a kid that she was never around because the family was so close and there. But she left.
Mm.
She married and moved away, and she was successful in love and in
Mhm.
life and happy. You know, you can be successful in happiness if you can
Mhm.
get there.
Now, did you respect her and appreciate her at the time, or was it as an adult that you come to appreciate her more?
No, I pretty much admired her from the time I was a kid. She was just always the cool aunt that I would get to see, like, maybe once or twice a year.
So, as a child, what were you taught about alcohol?
I was just told not to touch it.
Mhm.
Uh, Communication is not the greatest, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you can tell them not to touch it, but I don't really remember any, like, conversations about alcohol and the effects of alcohol or, you know, any honesty about alcohol problems in the
Mhm.
family, right? That wasn't gonna be talked about for
Right.
sure. So, don't go out and party by the lake. Don't go drink and
Mhm.
drive. Don't, you know. And honestly, it wasn't a problem for me. It wasn't a problem for my parents when I was a kid because I didn't do those things.
Yeah.
And the drinking wasn't a problem for me then because they told me not to do it, so I didn't.
So it just wasn't a part of your life as a kid.
Nope. No,
And
I
then and then
never said.
when I guess when did it start becoming a part of your life?
Oh, probably around the time I met my first husband.
Okay.
So I was 17, almost 18 years old when I met him, and he
And is this
was
in Nevada?
nope, here in
It
Arkansas.
is? Okay.
So I met him, and he was a partier. He was a
Okay.
hippie, 90s hippie, and, Little Rock Catholic, knew everybody. And so he was a partier. And it was my first experience. I'd never experienced hanging out with people and smoking a bong or, drinking beer kegs or shots or, just the things that young people normally do and get
Mhm.
out of their system and move on. So I was 18 when that started in my life. And when I got pregnant, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't even drink caffeine. But I craved beer, which was really weird because I wasn't a drinker. I had forced myself to have a beer,
Yeah.
or something. But then when I got pregnant and I stopped everything, I craved beer. And I don't know why, but I did. And steak and jalapenos. I had the weirdest cravings, beer, steak, and jalapenos. I couldn't
Right.
have the beer. So it was after I had had Rosetta. It was probably around 26 when my drinking started becoming a problem. When I think back on it and I'm honest with myself, it may have even been like 25.
And that was when you realize, hey, there's a problem here.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm looking back on it now, realizing it, thinking where I was at the age of 25. What was I doing at 25? Where was I working? How old was my kid? All the things that I should have been doing that maybe I wasn't doing. And, you know, so it's regretful now because now I can think about it and be honest with myself about, well, maybe it was really 25, LaDawnya. You know, maybe it was really earlier than you really want to admit. But I think that the drinking started heavy and around the age of 25, and it just increased. I lost my first husband. We were divorced, but I lost him. And my daughter lost her father at the age of 12. And then my second husband, Michael, he was military. So we moved with the military. Wow. And military lifestyle is heavy drinking. You know, I mean, they fight, they drink. And it turned into a lot. It just got worse.
So your second husband, he drank a lot, and then did he bring that home, or did you guys go out together?
We met each other working at the city. We would go out and have drinks. You know, I was drinking by that time. When I met him, I was having my own 6-pack at home and, you know, that kind of thing. So I was already drinking, and when we went, I say we, but when he went active duty, that was around 2008 when the market was just, the economy was terrible, and we didn't know if we were even going to be able to keep jobs and stuff. So he went active, and that's when a lot of change happened. And the drinking for me got even worse. So he was at that point just kind of removed from life because the military took him and put him where they wanted him.
Right.
And we were catching up, like cleaning up, packing up, moving from Kansas to Alaska.
Oh, geez.
By myself with a child and 2 dogs. So he didn't necessarily bring it home. He drank. He was a heavy drinker. And it just kept snowballing. Him being gone, the abandonment issues that I have already as a child, it just compounded and compounded. And then you go to a place like Alaska, and which, by the way, he and I both were born in Alaska. We met in Arkansas, but we were born in the same hospital. We're both military brats.
Wow.
So it was really bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
When I worked with him during his first deployment, and when he came home, I asked him about, because I did payroll and things, and I asked him if he was born in Alaska, and turns out he was. So
that's crazy.
But you get that dark and light thing going on up there, and alcohol in Alaska is a very bizarre topic.
And why is that?
Well, there are counties where if you come in with it, you'll go to jail. Like they don't want it there at all. So it's not just that it's a dry county and you went and got it and brought it in. You can't fly in with it. They don't want it there at all. So the dark and the light, you know, people get depressed. You got 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of dark. You get all mixed up. And one of my favorite pictures in Alaska, it's 10:30 at night, and I got my sunglasses on. And I'm drinking a beer in front of a fire, but it's 10:30 at night.
Right,
you know? And I love that picture, but I hate the situation I was in at the moment.
Right.
But anyway, the military life, dealing with the life when the soldier's gone, dealing with life when the soldier comes home, because, you know, they go through so much stuff that they either won't talk about, can't talk about, and just trying to reconnect with your soldier when they come home from a deployment is difficult. They don't drink while they're deployed. So, of course, they want to have a good time and be home and they celebrate and be back. So by the time we left Alaska, we were both, and I, myself, like I said, I can only speak for me.
Yeah.
I was very heavily drinking. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'd identified that, hey, I've got a problem here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did actually. And it was probably, I wrote it down, 2015 when I told some people that I love and trust that I needed help. And I was told, "No, you're okay. Just cut back. Just don't do it."
How do you feel towards those people now?
Well, I still love them. I
Yeah.
still love them. I think it's a very closed-minded, old school way of thinking.
Mhm.
Not everybody can just we're not Nike, we're not
Yeah.
we can't just do it. If we could just do it, we would have just done it 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, so it's kind of a slap in the face, and sometimes it gets used against you because you've gone to rehab, where some others haven't been able to go to rehab, and they've had to do it on their own. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know that I could have done it on my own. I think rehab was what I needed to do. I needed to be plucked from reality and put somewhere else.
Mhm. Yeah, being withdrawn from the situation, maybe putting into a safe place, and
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I could totally get
And
that.
things that they wouldn't allow you to have your phone. They wouldn't
Yeah.
allow you to have, certain privileges. And at the time, I was really upset. I did not like it at all.
Right.
And years later, I'm like, wow, okay, now I know why they did
Mhm.
some things the way they did them and why they allowed some things the way they did. And
Yeah.
so maybe they should have taken more away, right? Being cut off from your family and friends and the constant dinging of your electronics
Mhm.
and for 45 days.
Wow.
It was a big change, and
Right.
so even today, I keep my phone on silent most of the time. I turn my work phone on now, though.
Yeah.
But I keep my phone on silent. I don't wanna hear it. It triggers me. There's
Mm.
trauma associated with technology and stuff because when Michael passed away, we weren't living together, but it was very fresh. I was home. When I came home from rehab, he was in the hospital. There was a lot of stuff.
I guess during this time, as you're in Alaska, you're drinking heavily. How did you feel about yourself, and how did you feel about alcohol?
I did not think I had a problem.
Mhm.
I didn't feel very good about myself. While I was in Alaska alone. It was beautiful and great, and I loved it. But, my family, my friends, there was nobody up there.
Mhm.
And so it was great and it sucked at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talked to it a little bit about when you decided to get sober. Was there an actual event, like something that triggered you that said, "Hey, I've got to do something different," or was it a slow buildup? Tell me a little bit about that because
Yeah.
it's kind of a pivotal point in your life.
You're right. I started missing work when really important things were going on. I worked in benefits management,
Mhm.
managed quite a few different medical, dental, vision, PTO, different things, right? And we would have seminars. And so I started missing work, and my coworker already knew that my husband was having issues.
Mhm.
She already knew. And then she closed the door and asked me, "Do you have some problems? Because I'm starting to worry about you."
Hmm. That was bold.
It was very bold, right? It was probably the best thing that ever happened to me right there. Just her saying that because I had already said I had a problem. And here was somebody else saying, "Hey, we care about you. We think there's something going on." And so she had already done some research. She already knew the answer. And she gave me some phone numbers, and I went home and I talked to my husband and I called my daughter, and I was on a plane the very next day. And I left and I put myself in recovery the very next day. It took one person saying it to me outside of my friend circle, outside of my family, to get me to take action on my own life.
Well, the thing that's interesting to me is you've talked about these abandonment issues, but here you have someone who they're not abandoning you. They're making the slightest turn towards you, not a turn away from you. It was,
Right,
hey, someone actually cares about me. Someone's not abandoning me. Someone cares about me. Someone's turning, trying to help me.
right. They want me here. They care about me.
Right.
They appreciate me.
Right.
All those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that's wonderful how as people, it's so important for us to be in tune to other people's needs like that, and to be considerate and to be looking out for the welfare of other people. I'm sure this friend, maybe she knew this was going to change her life. Maybe she didn't.
She wasn't expecting me to get on a plane the very next day. She was like, wait a minute, that wasn't what I thought. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I knew that was a problem. I knew for years. I just didn't do anything about it. My life was the way it was.
And you had nobody telling you, calling you out on it?
Nope. My child. And I wish I'd have listened to her a lot more. She's like my savior. I tell her that. I mean, she saved me when I was younger. I could have partied a whole lot more had I not had a child, right?
Yeah.
Kept going on tour and doing all doing all those fun things. They're still fun.
Yeah.
But she came along and I loved her and I wanted to bring her up right, but I'm not perfect. Wouldn't I have to give myself grace?
Yeah.
My child is a wonderful human being, and I'm very fortunate that she's such a good person because she could have turned out a whole lot worse.
Right, yeah. Well, what's your relationship with her now?
We talk, we see each other, we have game nights and dinner, not as often as I would like, but I didn't become a raging alcoholic overnight, and it's going to take a long time to fix and rebuild and repair the relationships that I value, right? So it takes a long time, this recovery stuff. And
you've been sober how long?
6 years in November.
And so, I mean, that's a good chunk of time.
It's starting to become a good chunk of time. Yeah, it is. I mean, there's people who've got many, many years. And sometimes they'll talk about it. So I meet these long-time recovering alcoholics. And it's not necessarily something that's on the front of their mind, but at 6 years, it's still at the front of my head. Like, it's still there. It still affects me. You see the commercials on TV, I mean, it's like, it's everywhere. And then when COVID hit, they started giving alcohol away. And I was like, what did I do? I'm in some weird paradox or something like COVID and free alcohol and sobriety. And
so is there ever a point, or I guess at what point can a person say, hey, I've recovered, I've got this thing, and are you there?
I mean, I think individually some people may be fine with saying, I'm 6 years, I'm a recovered alcoholic. I don't think you're ever recovered. I think you're always recovering. The alcohol is just the byproduct of whatever it's doing for you, in my opinion. So for me, it was to cover up my words, to cover up my feelings. I didn't know how to communicate what I wanted, things like that. Conflict and confrontation is always hard. I don't ever know what to say, So it's more for me personally what the liquid covers up, but I don't miss the feeling of being drunk. I don't miss the hangovers for sure. I don't miss it. I don't miss the alcohol itself. I do miss what it covered up. It made it okay for me not to care about things. It made it okay for things to slide. It made it okay for,
It's not, now you've got to face life.
And now I have to face it. Yes, I have to find my words and I have to communicate and learn myself now because I covered it so long with alcohol that who was she, where was she, and what is she now?
Well, that could be a lifelong process.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess back to the question about, are you ever recovered? If that's why you're drinking, it's like, well, we're all trying to fix stuff throughout our entire lives.
Yeah.
Welcome to The Good Influencers. I'm your host, Ty Manning. At my business, Restoration One of Northwest Arkansas, we restore properties damaged by water, fire, and mold. Our unique difference, though, and the inspiration for this podcast lies with our incredible team. Most of our dedicated professionals are on paths of recovery, living out the good influence we highlight here. They bring a culture of trust and resilience to every project, ensuring that your home or business isn't just repaired, but thoughtfully restored. Choosing Restoration One means you're getting expert service from a team driven by purpose and a desire to have a positive influence. If you need compassionate restoration services, find us online at restorationoneofnwa.com or call us 24/7 at 479-866-4257. We're here to restore your property and your peace of mind. We're going to be weaving in the story of alcohol and the story of sewing.
Okay.
They come together.
Yes, they do.
We haven't talked a lot about the sewing part.
Yeah.
But let's talk about sewing, and then let's weave those two stories together real quick. So just tell us your what sewing has meant to you throughout your life, how you learned about it, or how you learned to sew.
My mom made my clothes when I was a kid, pretty much all of them, right? When I was little, she made all my clothes. She made all her clothes when she was younger. She started sewing at the age of 8. I don't remember what age I was when I started sewing, but when she made my clothes, I had to be there. I had to pick the fabrics, pick the pattern, help cut it out. I didn't sew it, but I had to help with all of it and be present. When I graduated high school, I got my first sewing machine. I still have her. I'm really happy I still have it because, I moved around a whole bunch. I could have lost that machine anywhere, but I still have her. She works and she's perfect. I would make bags and hats and go on dead and fish tour, right? So when I was younger, I wanted to be a home ec teacher. I wanted to teach people to sew. I wanted to teach people to make biscuits. And I wanted to, the homemaker stuff was cool. I wanted to plant some plants and grow some green beans. I wanted to do all those things. Didn't get to do that. But so I would make hats and bags, and I'd go on these tours and I'd sell them so that I could pay for my trip and things like that. And I wanted to do that, but I was told that nobody was into the things that I was making, which is fine because, I was picking up trash and I was repurposing stuff off of the floor or, the splotches from the sofa place and, making hats and bags and stuff out of it. It was great. So I did that for a long time. And then when I started my family, when I got married and started doing that, I stopped sewing. Carried that machine around for 30 years, but I didn't sew. And it wasn't until we moved back to the lower 48 and we lived in Missouri where I was like, you know what? I think I got a problem. And I'm going to talk to some people about this problem. And when I would call home, I would get told, get your sewing machine out. Get your sewing machine out. It's like your car. You don't drink and drive. You don't drink and sew. Get your sewing machine out. I'm like, okay. So I did. And I made some things and they're still floating around and man, they look terrible. They look really bad. But I love them at the same time though, because I can look at that quilt and go, wow, I was really in a rough spot. And then look at something else and go, okay, well, I can tell a difference between this and that. And so yeah, I've been using sewing before I got sober as a way to keep myself occupied, to think about something else besides the drinking, to give myself something to do, feel accomplished with, proud of. I mean, it could be a bookmark, but I made it, And
you see that daily or that progress, immediate satisfaction by seeing your handiwork come together.
Yes. Yeah. You come in, you have an idea or something, you have a mission to make something, and then you make it and you're like, okay. Usually if you're like me, you go, that looks terrible. But the second one's going to be better because you did that one. Now do another one. And then you do it again and you do it again. And every day you just keep do it again. Just like with drinking and not drinking, you just don't do it. And you just keep not doing it. And every day, I want to say it gets easier, but I don't know. And the sewing definitely gets better though. If you just keep doing it. And the more you learn your machine, the more fun you'll have.
Right. So you sewed a lot as a child. You put it away, the sewing machine, you put it away for many years. And then you brought the sewing machine back out, and then they came together as far as the drinking went away and the sewing picked up again. Did the sewing fill the void that the drinking left?
So the sewing filled a lot of voids because after my recovery, like I said, there was a great deal of loss, job and everything. And I didn't know what to do with myself, literally. I was like, okay, I'm home, I'm sober, and I don't have a job. What am I doing with myself?
Yeah, boredom is horrible for a sober person.
I mean, devil's hands or advocate, whatever thing. So find something to do before it finds you is a good one too. So I just started going to my mom's sewing room. You know, my mom has a sewing room behind her house and her friends get together there and I just go hang out there during the day. And I started seeing that some of them would buy a new machine and they wouldn't know how to use it, or maybe they didn't know how to use the bobbin winder on it or whatever. So I'd help them out. We'd talk about fabrics and what quilt you're making for which grandkid and, help them out. And I started.
What year was this, by the way?
This was 2020. It was around 2020,
okay.
2021.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So pretty much it's the COVID time, right?
Yeah.
All COVID. But so going out there, I realized that for one, I had a place to go during the day and do something besides stay in my house, be depressed, and overthink all the horrible, wonderful things that I am sober to think about. So go find something. So I'd go do that. And then I found a need for these ladies and gentlemen with helping them with their machines. And they've worked their whole lives. They're ready to enjoy their sewing experience. And a lot of them have been sewing longer than I have been alive. And some of them are new starting out. And I just decided this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this with my life. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to create an income for myself, and I'm going to help people sew so that they don't want to rip their hair out, right? Make it to where they understand their machine and they'll want to sew forever. If they know what that sound is and how to fix it, they're going to keep sewing. That's all they have to think about is just sewing and getting to sew. Let all the negativity and let all the bad thoughts just kind of go away for a little bit. Usually more than a little bit. My catchphrase is let's get lost in sewing.
Yeah.
So I have gone in my sewing room in the morning when I'm supposed to be somewhere, and that's a bad idea because you start doing it and you lose track of time. So let's get lost in sewing. Let's get lost and lose track of time and lose thoughts of that. And let's talk about this beautiful fabric right here. And what are we going to make with it? And what machine are we going to use? And then what are we going to do with it?
So I guess the burning question I have is there's not a lot of people making a career out of sewing right now. So when you had that thought as, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make a career out of it, how much belief did you have in yourself that you could really do it?
Honestly, I didn't think I would. I didn't, but I was going to try. And I'm going to keep trying because I'm passionate about it. I think that having something to do, whether it's sewing, painting, whatever it is, macrame, fishing, having something, that's the most important thing. Sewing, it was sewing for me because I was raised in it. It's my heritage, and I'm happy to be home in the community and I want to share it with those in our community. We have people who feel lost here and they may not be comfortable talking about feeling lost, but they are. And if they can find something to do, they can find a group to be part of. That's what I want to give my community is you're not alone.
Yeah.
And you're lost no matter what it is. I tell people, you may not be an alcoholic, but maybe your brother was, right? Maybe you've had an alcoholic in your family or your life that has, maybe you just kind of weird about them, right?
Yeah.
So they've affected you. They've made a mark on your life somehow, either positive or negative. And if it's negative, but it's somebody you love, then who do you share that with? Well, other people who have the same kind of situation going on.
Yeah. So you created Lost Ozark Dawn Community Heritage.
I did.
Tell us about that.
So Lost Ozark Dawn Community Heritage is my nonprofit that I started. It's based around sewing. Our mission is to keep the art alive and promote personal growth from trauma, loss, and addiction. So keep it alive, keep it affordable. Things have gotten very expensive. People are worried about housing, not hobbies, right? Somebody told me that hobbies were going to be the first thing to go in our economy, which is true. Hobbies are the first to go. But sewing is a necessity. This room has things in it that's sewn that isn't a quilt or our clothing, right? Sewing is always going to be around and there's going to be a need for it. So, yeah, it's going to go maybe a little bit. I know that there's a lot of people who enjoy sewing, but there's a stereotype that it's all older women. And I'm getting there. But it's not. It isn't. And it's not just women. There's men who do it. And there's all kinds of different things you can do in sewing. You can embroider. You can hand sew. You can machine sew. You can use a serger. You can use an overlocker. You can use a hand crank. You can use a treadle. I mean, there's so many different machines that do so many different things that I could sit and talk about sewing all day long. And so I realized that because of all of the sewing that I've grown up around, that I actually knew some of this stuff where some people didn't. And I thought it was just common knowledge. I thought it was just normal stuff, right? And when you show somebody a new technique or something about their craft and their art or their hobby, and they don't know it, and they're like, "Ugh," they have that aha moment. It's amazing. It's great. I love that moment. I love that.
So, what is it about sewing that helps people feel comfort and joy?
Well, for me, it takes me back to Scott County and that house that's not there anymore, and my grandma. So it's comforting that way. I think a lot of younger people have had grandmothers that have sewn. And if they go into somewhere similar to like what their grandma's sewing room was like, they automatically feel a little bit of comfort. There's something to be said about stacks and stacks and stacks of fabric. Besides, it's pretty to look at. I don't know what it is. You walk into a sewing room, it's going to be a mess. There's going to be stuff everywhere. Don't touch that because that is something. And, I don't know. There's just something weird about walking into a sewing room. You're not expected to know everything in there. How could you know everything with all those machines I just listed, right? You can know a lot of it, but
there's something nostalgic about it.
Nostalgic, yeah. And it definitely goes back a long time, right? I have a little machine that the door-to-door salesman used to take around and show the ladies, So the history is fascinating and fun. You wouldn't think that vintage fabric would be like a thing, but it is. And people seek out vintage fabrics. So we get donations of that sometimes. It's a gold mine, I never know what I'm going to get. Could be hand stitching, cross stitch, needlepoint stuff, or it could be beads and paint, but mostly sewing.
So I've been to your shop or your studio at the Center for Nonprofits, correct?
It's now the Jones Community for Nonprofits.
Jones Community for Nonprofits. Okay, in
Jones
Rogers.
Community for Nonprofits.
So you walk in, there's lots of fabric, lots of yarn, lots of machines. So how does it work that people come and do they show up? Do they set an appointment? How does that work?
We have times scheduled on our website so people can go there and see what classes we have during the days. And then they sign up that way for sure. Yeah. We've got about a month out. We just started getting it out there. So be patient with us because we are trying to put a variety of different sewing classes. Right now, they're pretty consistent across the board, though.
So can you think of a person, or maybe tell me about a person that has come in, that has sewn with you, that their story has impacted you for whatever reason?
I mean, there's been some things happen in the center that that have impacted me personally. I ran into a young lady who was scared there one day. The health center, the health department's there. She was very, very scared. She looked scared. She looked like a deer in the headlights, like she didn't know where she was going. And I asked her if she knew where she was going, and she did. And it was the health department. And she wasn't going up. She was waiting for the time, but she was there. So nervous. She was nervous and there. And I invited her to come into our room and just sit down and hang out for 20 minutes and wait. And as I talked to this young lady, I realized that I assumed that she was maybe there to find out if she was going to have a baby. That's what I assumed. And so I asked some questions, and I asked her if she needed anything, because we're in the center, the nonprofit center, and there's a lot of nonprofits to help people there. And so we want to help. And so I ask. And she didn't need anything. And then I asked her if she might maybe need a baby blanket in the future. And she just looked at me like, how did you know that was? And she said, yeah, I might. And I'm like, well, here's a baby blanket and a couple burp cloths. And, it's not a lot, but it's something, especially if you're in a position of being like, my whole life is about to change, right? And you're scared, a scared young woman in there by herself. So that was interesting for me to help her. And I have not seen her, but I hope that everything was great for her and worked out.
I can't help but think back to your friend in Alaska that pulled you in, and how that moment had an impact on your life, and how potentially being aware of this young lady, reading her and pulling her in a time of need, if that would have been a pivotal point in her life, because a lot of times we don't know what people are experiencing.
You're right. Yeah. And it could have very well been. I was here in Arkansas when I got pulled to the side for work. I had actually come home and gotten a job after Michael was honorably discharged. I came home and I got this wonderful job. I was so proud of myself. And it was there that my friend did that. And it's scary in a way because I don't communicate with them anymore, right? My friend who helped me then, we don't talk much. It's not that we don't talk to each other. Yeah. It's just we went separate ways, but I'll forever be grateful for the two people at work who kind of came together and just nurtured me a little bit and gave me a little bit of, it's okay. It's okay to have a problem. Let's just go take care of the problem and face it.
Yeah, and in each of these podcasts, I always try to walk away with something to tuck away in my mind. And the thing that I'm tucking away in my mind is being aware of other people.
Right.
How important that is for us to do that, to be aware of other people. And you've created now this organization where you could do that in a unique way, because you have people come in, all the time talking about sewing, but in a way, I mean, I think you're almost like a therapist.
That's like going to the beauty salon, right?
Yeah.
Totally. It is. And it's funny that you say that because, it has been my meetings. For me, the sewing is my meetings because I am going to talk about my life and my recovery and my sewing and how I relate that with that. And so we were working on this 6-week program with a counselor in the center to do a stitch and therapy type group meetings. So 6 weeks of group therapy, plus you get to do some kind of sewing or project.
Oh, wow.
So make it fun. You get to do something with your hands, listen, talk. So that's coming up, and we're really excited about that. And Lost Ozark Dawn Community Heritage has grown so much since we've been at the center, at the Jones
Tell me a little
Center.
bit about that.
Well, we were located at the experimental house. We had moved out of Mom's sewing room. I had moved out of Mom's sewing room and gotten into the experimental house. And we were there for about 3 months, and then the tornado hit. That's when we moved into the Center for Nonprofits, which is now the Jones Community for Nonprofits. And we had to go to the basement in a small, tiny room, but we were able to pick up and move all Monday, so it was great. So we were down in the basement for about 3 months, and then we finally got a spot up on the first floor, and it's just grown. We were able to get some shelving for bolts of fabric to display. We got a cut counter. We've got sewing machines. We'd like to have the same sewing machine to teach on instead of donated machines to teach on. That's coming. It'll happen. So it's grown, and we keep experiencing good talk, good communications, good vibes, I guess. Maybe people come in and they're like, oh, I saw you on da-da-da-da-da. Or I was recently on the news, the 4029, no, Fox, yeah. Fox KNWA. Yeah. I don't have cable, so I didn't even get to watch it. But anyway, so, we're starting to be heard about. The community is starting to know about us. Those seeking something to do, as well as people who are looking for a place to donate items. I couldn't imagine, if I wasn't in this field, what I would do with my mom's 1,200 square foot sewing room when the time comes to do something with it. It's very overwhelming. So we've kind of filled a need for some people looking for something to do, and a need for some people who have precious items that they're going to have to lose. They've lost the loved ones, but can it go somewhere where it's going to be loved as much and used and kept out of the landfills?
Right. So what are your greatest needs right now?
Financing. We need overhead, right? So once we get that done, insurance and QuickBooks, all that wonderful stuff. The rest is just the machinery and keeping us, rolling so we can have more volunteers come in. We'd like to have a payroll and have a couple people who can work and create income for some folks in Northwest Arkansas. That's something I never thought that would happen, right? So you asked me, did I really think I would make it when I started my business? No, not really. Well, I definitely didn't think that I would be on the verge of paying people to work for me. Like, really?
Yeah.
Is it really happening?
It's pretty remarkable.
It is remarkable. And I have an open sign and a door with a key. Right. It's great. We're growing, and people are using us and getting the benefits out of Lost Ozark Dawn Community Heritage. We're filling a void that was needed, even though not a whole bunch of people realized that it was needed. Yeah.
Where do you hope to take it?
I want to keep growing. I would like to eventually have our classroom separate from our shop, our studio room. But I would like to have retreats for young women and men. So like some church camps type things, but sewing instead. I want to just reach out to the people here in the community and share this with them and just keep growing, because the art is going to be here. The need is always going to be there. So big boxes have shut down and some are reopening. And, there's always going to be that big box thing that you can go to. But when you come into Lost Ozark Dawn Community Heritage, chances are you're going to get me or someone who's been sewing for a really long time. And if you have any questions, chances are we're going to be able to answer them or guide you in the right direction. So,
yeah. How did you feel when Joann Fabric closed down in Rogers?
Well, I won't lie. I mean, I was happy, but I was also sad. I was sad because, sometimes, you don't have a lot of money sometimes. Sometimes funds are tight and you're bored and you want to do something. So what are you going to do? You go walk around Joann's and you look at the fabrics and you look at, the new lights and you look at the scissors and, you daydream and do that kind of thing. So I was sad when when they left, but I am very grateful because I did get one of their cut counters. And it's an incredible counter. Love it.
Yeah.
And the shelving. So their loss, my gain, hopefully the community's gain as well, because the fabrics we keep affordable, $3 a yard for cottons. And we're keeping this stuff out of the landfill. It's usable items. And, when you're learning, you don't want to go buy $15 a yard fabric to cut it. You want to use something that's less expensive.
Yeah.
Do your first one and look at it and go, I hope I do better on the next one, right?
Yeah, make your mistakes.
And then you cut your good fabrics. Yeah.
So when you look at your life today, what are you most grateful for?
I'm really happy I don't wake up every day with a hangover. No lie. I'm really happy that I don't have the shakes. My life is not at all what I thought it would be like. I literally and figuratively lost everything. I pulled up a dump truck and threw all my furniture away and basically got an apartment with a cot and started all over. So I haven't run everybody off yet. Sober LaDawnya hasn't run everybody away yet. I'm grateful for my family. They cause trauma. I cause trauma. We're traumatic people. Being a parent doesn't come with a book. Being a kid doesn't come with a book. None of this comes with a book. And I love them. They did the best they could when it was their time. I'm grateful that I'm creating something that impacts not just me. I think that I'm amazed that I am pulling it off. I really am. I mean, my family could have dumped me. My boyfriend could have been like, "Ooh, you're too much." And, things could have been so much different than they are right now. And I'm just grateful that I am able to create something bigger than just what I need. I'm creating something for my community members that will impact their lives if it's something that they choose to do. So if somebody's watching your podcast and listening to this right now, which I was surprised how many people actually do listen. If somebody's struggling right now, just keep going and don't give up on yourself. Maybe do something different than I did and don't wait for somebody else to tell you it's okay to get help. I pretty much feel like I waited until somebody validated the fact that I thought I was an alcoholic before I went and took care of my problem. Just be honest with yourself. Positive self-talk, but honest self-talk is very needed. One day at a time. Find something before it finds you. Hopefully it's sewing.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's sewing.
Well, LaDawnya, I really appreciate being vulnerable and sharing your story, and it's an incredible story, and I look forward to tracking your progress and the progress of your organization, and I hope a lot of people listen and get inspired.
Me too.
Thanks for listening. We hope you were inspired by the story of today's good influencer. If so, please consider sharing it. Also, if you know someone doing good in our community whose story needs to be heard, send them my way. You can email me at thegoodinfluencerspodcast@gmail.com.